Hi teachers, Brother Judd here, and I have some help for your lesson here in Doctrine and Covenant section. Hey teachers, Brother Judd here, and I've got some help for the second lesson about missionary work out of sections 30 through 36. So in the first lesson, learned all about why the Lord needs missionaries and the Lord's various counsel to different missionaries in the early days of the church. This lesson, the purpose of it is to help students in their efforts to share the gospel. So we're going to take some of those things and help our students learn how they can share the gospel. The suggested learning activity, this is one of my favorite kinds of readiness activities, learning activities to get class started. It says to imagine a scenario where there's a speaker in sacrament meeting sharing about missionary work. Connor, he feels like, I don't know if I can talk to people. He's pretty quiet by nature. Additionally, Connor's never really had gospel discussions with people who aren't members of the church. He worries about how a conversation would go. His quiet nature and lack of experience left him uncomfortable with the idea of initiating a gospel conversation with someone else. And then you ask the students, what do you think would be helpful for Connor to understand about missionary work? What other concerns do people often have about sharing the Savior's gospel? Now, this is a hypothetical situation. I have found that there's kind of a hierarchy of setting up situations for students to respond to. Hypothetical situations like this are perfectly fine. If you can think of a real life example, if there is a missionary in your life that you know is struggling with talking with people, or they feel that they just don't have what it takes to just walk up and talk with people on the street, you could share that situation, or if you have a situation from your own life. I've often found that stories from your own life are the best, and then stories from people that you know often work best after that, and then followed by these hypothetical situations. But, the curriculum writers, they can't write in your story or the stories of people that you know. Or you could even ask your students, do you have a story of when you were nervous sharing the gospel with someone? Or do you know somebody who is either on a mission or preparing for a mission who's very nervous about opening their mouths and sharing the gospel with total strangers? I would probably stick with, sharing one of my own stories. And then what I would do is, guys, what I'd like you to do here is, instead of answering out loud, I'm going to give you all Post-it notes, and I want you to just write one little quick bit of advice to 19-year-old Brother Judd. When he's out there in Hamburg, Germany, he just got there from the MTC. He doesn't speak German. He doesn't know how to do this. What 1 or 2 sentences of advice might you give him? And have him write it on the Post-it notes and then stick it up on the board. And then you can go through and read some of those. Now, that does a couple of things. It engages the students with the topic, it gets them writing something, thinking, and it gets them up out of their chairs and pushing or placing something on the board. So there's some movement as well. So whether you use my example or some other type of readiness activity, again, you can stick with this hypothetical situation. There is no problem with that. However, I have found that in connecting with students, when you can share experiences from your own life, especially your younger life, and then ask students to kind of write advice to a younger you, it just has this really neat way of connecting students and teachers together. The rest of the lesson does a very good job at going through the sections in the Doctrine and Covenants and pulling out, the counsel that the Lord gives to these various missionaries. And then here, invite students to look in those sections for various truths that are taught. And then there are a number of bolded statements here that you can see that the students could pull out, and then you could talk about these things and use your example or whatever example you came up with for the beginning of class. Use these different things to address that concern, because we all get it. It can be very, very anxiety-inducing to share something that is so important to you with someone that you don't totally know, or it can be even more nervous if you're trying to share something important with somebody that you really know closely, and you're worried that they may reject you if they know how you feel about religious things. So this section, lots of really great ideas, doctrines, videos, quotes here from prophets and apostles here at the end. but they're just a quick idea here at the beginning. Also, you can use that, find something that you learn. Here's a Post-it note. Maybe you could give them different colored Post-it notes. Okay, I want you to use the red Post-it note for the activity here at the beginning of the lesson, and then after you read some scriptures, I want you to write down a truth about missionary work that could help. I want you to write that on the green Post-it note. I want you to come put that up there. Just, again, different things to involve students, to shake things up a bit, add some variety, get them out of their seats. All things that help, especially when teaching early morning. If you're doing this over Zoom or a distance, then you have a whole other host of options that you could use to involve students. You can have them place things in the chat. You can have them look for I want you to search the internet. Now, you have to be careful with that, but I want you to search for a meme or a picture that teaches the truth that you feel is important. Or I want you to grab something off of the church website, or a quote, or a general conference, something that teaches the truth that you're finding in these verses. And so regardless of the setting in which you are teaching, just remember to involve your students in the discovery. Let them share. Let them talk to a younger, less experienced you. Connect with them in that way. And I've found students really, they really resonate with the message of missionary work. They just need some tips on how to do it, and how to feel safe doing it, and how to feel successful doing it. So I hope that was helpful, and I will have another training for you next week. So until then, take care.